Donovan Mitchell, 45, finished Wednesday night's win with 17 points and 11 assists. Taormina, USA Today Sports. The Utah Jazz took Game 2 of their Western Conference semifinal series against the Houston Rockets. The series shifts to Salt Lake City tied 1-1. The Houston Rockets have themselves a series. After taking a big first-half lead, and then giving it right back, the Utah Jazz pulled away late to win 116-108 in Game 2 of their Western Conference semifinal against the Rockets. Now the series shifts back to Utah for Games 3 and 4 Friday and Sunday night, where the Jazz have a chance to make life extremely difficult for the Rockets. That's in our DNA, Jazz rookie Donovan Mitchell, who had 17 points and 11 assists for Utah, of how the Jazz responded to giving up that lead during his walk-off interview with TNT. That's in our character to withstand the run. As Mitchell himself pointed out in that interview, the Jazz fell apart in the second half of Game 5 of their first-round series with the Oklahoma City Thunder, giving up a 25-point lead in the third quarter to allow the Thunder to push the series to a sixth game. This time, after the Rockets wiped out a 15-point lead late in the first half, and eventually took a 94-92 lead in the fourth quarter, the Jazz responded with a 16-2 run that put Utah ahead for good. The Jazz had 6 players in double figures, led by 27 points from Joe Ingles, who hit 7 of Utah's 15 threes, as the Jazz scored enough to stay ahead of one of the league's 2 most explosive offenses in its own building. "Everybody stepped up and played well," Mitchell said. "I'm so proud of those guys." When the Rockets took that 94-92 lead with 8:03 to go in the fourth, it felt like Houston would eventually pull away and take a 2-0 lead in the series. Instead, the Rockets got sloppy with the ball. They had 3 turnovers in the final 8 minutes, after having 5 in the first 40, missed a bunch of makeable shots. The Rockets closed the game, 3 for 16 from the field, and 2 for 9 from 3, and Utah knocked down shots, 8 for 15 overall and 4 for 5 from 3. The biggest story of the game, Utah went 15 for 32 from 3, Houston shot 10 for 37. The result is Houston, the West's top seed and owners of the NBA's best record in the regular season, finds itself without home court advantages. The series shifts back to Utah. "A couple times we messed up defensively, and we had a breakdown," Rockets coach Mike D'Antoni told reporters after the game. "Out of 8 threes they made, maybe we had 6 different reasons why we screwed them up. We can correct everything. We can correct our energy, we can correct our focus. This is tough. We got lulled into a false sense of security, and we paid for it." The Rockets paid for it by letting the Jazz into a series Houston had the chance to put a hammer lock on with a win in Game 2. Your latest Donovan Mitchell is unbelievable moment. Fearful face pic.twitter.com/2t6ohm68wl. Spencer Percy @QSpencer, May 3, 2018. It almost looked like Mitchell threw this ball to himself off the front of rim. Whether he did or not, the ability to go right back up and throw it down, with authority, on a second jump was remarkable. That play, combined with 3-pointers from Joe Ingles, Jay Crowder and Dante Exum, have Utah up 103-96 with 5:46 remaining, as the Jazz have gone on a 11-2 run to retake the lead. Incredibly impressive stuff on the road, and it sets up what should be a thrilling finish in Houston. The Rockets have one of the best offenses in the league, so trying to keep up with them is always a challenge. Trying to keep up with them while tripling their turnovers makes a difficult task nearly impossible. Yet that's the exact situation the Utah Jazz find themselves in here in the fourth quarter of Game 2. Utah has 16 turnovers in this game, which have turned into 15 Houston points. The Rockets, meanwhile, only have 5, which have become 8 points for the Jazz. In a close game, every advantage gained is significant, and that edge could turn out to be the difference. Every playoff series has inflection points, hinge moments that can send them in one direction or another. The fourth quarter of Game 2 between the Utah Jazz and Houston Rockets will be one of those moments. The Jazz, who enter the fourth quarter with a 1-point lead, have 12 minutes to even this series at a game apiece, taking it back to Salt Lake City for Game 3 Friday with a real chance to make it go long against the heavily favored Rockets. If Houston wins, though, it will take a decisive 2-0 lead in the series and put the Jazz in a really difficult spot. "It's just the energy level," Rockets coach Mike D'Antoni said during his between-quarters interview on TNT of the key in the fourth quarter. "We're at home. We have to finish this off. If the Rockets can do so, their path to the conference finals will be clear. If can't, there will be a pair of fascinating games this weekend in Salt Lake City. Remember when we said foul trouble was going to be a factor in this game? Well, James Harden just picked up his third and fourth fouls in the span of 42 seconds late in the third quarter. Harden, who has 25 points and 10 assists, got his third for what looked like a flop off of Jay Crowder on defense, then picked up his fourth when he lowered his shoulder into Dante Exum for no real reason offensively on the perimeter. Houston has stormed back into this game since trailing by 15 late in the second quarter when Utah's star rookie, Donovan Mitchell, went to the bench with 3 fouls. Now the Rockets, who trail by 1 late in the third, need to survive the end of the third quarter with their star on the bench with 4 fouls. The difference? Utah doesn't have another dynamic guard of Mitchell's caliber. Houston, on the other hand, has Chris Paul. When Donovan Mitchell went to the bench for the final 4+ minutes of the first half with 3 fouls, the Utah Jazz needed to try to maintain their 15-point lead going into the halftime break. James Harden ensured the Jazz did not. Houston went on a 14-8 run to end the first half, including a 13-4 run over the final 2.5 minutes that saw Harden score the final 12 points in a row, to help the Rockets close to within 64-55 at the halftime break. Those 6 points Houston clawed back could make a huge difference, as the Rockets are not only capable of making huge runs themselves, but the Jazz aren't a team that can easily keep up in a high-scoring affair. Foul trouble is going to be a key factor to watch in the second half of this game. Mitchell isn't the only important player to have 3 fouls already. Both teammate Jay Crowder and Houston's Clint Capella also have 3. Meanwhile, Harden, Chris Paul and Joe Ingles all have 2. Harden, as usual, has lived at the foul line, already going 10 for 11 from the charity stripe. The entire Jazz team, on the other hand, is just 8 for 13. There's the third foul for Donovan Mitchell, coming with just over 4 minutes to go in the first half, when he got into Chris Paul's airspace on a pass, sending Paul to the ground and Mitchell to the bench for the final 4:13 of the first half. Now we'll see if the Jazz, who lead by 17, can maintain this cushion before the break, or if the Rockets can make a dent in the lead heading into halftime. Ricky Rubio being out is a loss for Utah. He's a great passer and an underrated defensive player, something Utah could use as it attempts to slow down Houston's defense. But not having Rubio means more playing time for Alec Burks, who provides Utah with a dynamism off the dribble, in terms of creating points for himself, that no one besides Donovan Mitchell on the Jazz is really capable of. Burks has a quick 7 points off the bench for Utah, which leads by 11 early in the second quarter. In a series where the Jazz are going to have to keep up with the Rockets offensively, it could work out that the extra offense from Burks could wind up being a big positive for them. Danger point for Utah early in this game: 2 quick fouls on Donovan Mitchell. Jazz coach Quinn Snyder, at least for now, is keeping him in the game. Utah can't afford to lose Mitchell, their one reliable shot creator, to a third foul early in this game. Whether he can avoid reaching, or being goaded into a foul, by Houston's veteran guards bears watching. The biggest question about the Utah Jazz coming into their Western Conference semifinal series with the Houston Rockets was whether Utah could keep up with Houston offensively. That wasn't the case in Game 1, though it could be explained by the Jazz being 36 hours removed from closing out the Oklahoma City Thunder in an intense 6-game series. In the opening minutes of Game 2, though, the Jazz are proving they at least have a shot to do so. Utah jumped out to a quick 20-13 lead to start the game, and, more importantly, Donovan Mitchell only has 2 points. He does, however, have 5 assists, and all 5 starters have scored, including Joe Ingles with 11. The Jazz are going to need that going forward to make this series competitive. The Phoenix Suns made history Wednesday in hiring Utah Jazz assistant coach Igor Kokoskov to be their next head coach, the team announced Wednesday. The move, which was first reported by ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski, makes Kokoskov the first European coach to be hired to run an NBA team, a watershed moment for a league that has been heavily influenced by an influx of foreign players over the past few decades. Kokoskov, 46, has spent much of the past 2 decades working as an assistant coach, spending time with the Los Angeles Clippers, Detroit Pistons, Suns, Cleveland Cavaliers and Orlando Magic before spending the last 2 years with the Jazz. He also spent 7 years coaching the Georgia national team, before guiding Slovenia to last summer's Eurobasket title with a team led by young prodigy Luka Doncic, who is likely to be one of the top 3 picks in this year's draft. The Suns had the league's worst record, putting them in the best position to potentially add Doncic, currently starring for Real Madrid in Spain, to their roster. He and Devin Booker would be a good foundation for Kokoskov to begin his NBA head coaching career with. The Toronto Raptors unequivocally threw away Game 1 of their Eastern Conference semifinal against the Cleveland Cavaliers Tuesday night. A team can't miss 16 of their final 18 shots and have it be declared that it had a game taken away from them when they tossed it away themselves. That said, the Raptors will certainly be unhappy with the news delivered early Wednesday evening by the league's last 2-minute report, that Kevin Love should have been called for a flagrant foul with 1:11 remaining in regulation of Cleveland's 113-112 victory. Love hit DeMar DeRozan in the face with an elbow while trying to get defenders away from him after grabbing a rebound of a Serge Ibaka missed three-pointer, sending DeRozan falling to the ground and those watching both inside Air Canada Centre and at home on television for a review of the play to take place. Instead, play continued on without one. Kyle Lowry then missed a jumper, and LeBron James hit one to tie the game. The Raptors would then miss 4 shots in the final 10 seconds to win the game, which would then go to overtime, where the Cavaliers would emerge with a win. If Love had been called for a flagrant, as it appeared at the time he should have been, the Raptors would have gotten 2 free throws on the ball, instead of just taking the ball out of bounds. That likely would have pushed Toronto's lead to at least 4, and potentially 6 or 7 with a made basket. With just over a minute remaining, that would have given Toronto a nearly insurmountable lead. As it was, the Raptors only had one chance to extend the lead, and Lowry's missed jumper meant they failed to do so. Now, it needs to be noted that the missed flagrant on Love was not the only missed call in this sequence. The referees missed both a travel by Love and a foul by DeRozan on Love in the moments before Love swung his arms around, which, if the foul had been called, as it should have been, as a foul trumps a travel when both happen at the same time, the flagrant never would have taken place. But that won't do much to soothe the feelings of the Raptors and their fans, who have often felt aggrieved at what they perceive as a lack of respect from the league. Moments like this one, when a key call went against Toronto in a big spot, will only exacerbate those feelings. Even if, as multiple reporters who covered the Raptors pointed out, there is no merit to them in this instance. All I can say to the NBA is out to get the Raptors folks, who are ever present in my mentions, is, watch more NBA ball. Officiating has been a very real issue everywhere this season. Josh Lewenberg, at Jalou1050, May 2, 2018. Bottom line is refs missed a foul on Raps and a possible travel on Love and then misinterpreted replay rules. That's not a conspiracy. It's just ineptitude. Eric Corrine, at Ecorine, May 2, 2018. Additional reading, Steph Curry comes off bench to vault Warriors to 2-0 lead. Raptors lost a game they had to win breaking. LeBron James finally gets called for a lane violation on a free throw. Draymond Green invites Charles Barkley to punch him or else shut up. Or possibly both. Global ambassador starts war. Drake and Kendrick Perkins skirmish in Toronto. NBA podcast, USA Today. Sam Amick on the West playoffs. What's next for Paul George and Portland? The banged-up Celtics aren't as talented as the Sixers. They didn't need to be in Game 1. Is there a snake on the Philadelphia 76ers court? A leader should say that. Paul Pierce loved John Wall's comments about Wizards teammates. Impressive as it was, the Pacers' Victor Oladipo isn't satisfied with his breakout season for once. LeBron James's supporting cast makes all the difference for Cavaliers. John Wall wants the Wizards to overhaul their roster. They likely won't be able to. Friday's loss is likely just the beginning of a painful summer for the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Miami Heat bet big on Hassan Whiteside. It appears they made a mistake. Now what? The one-and-done rule is on the way out because of NBA money, not NCAA morals. It feels like the end of an era for the San Antonio Spurs after first-round sweep. Blazers' next steps could include trading away their stars. All my best games I was medicated. Matt Barnes, on his game day use of marijuana. Adam Silver, one of the WNBA's problems is that not enough young women pay attention to it. Get off her back. LeBron James defends TNT reporter who asked him about Aaron Popovich's death. NBA, Twitch reach deal on 2K League streaming rights. Comment